Señoras y señores, muy buenas tardes. Una vez decidido que empiezo yo, hemos tomado esa decisión. Quiero, en primer lugar, agradecerles su presencia en esta estupenda tarde, donde vamos a reconocer a personas que todos valoramos, que todos queremos y que tanto han hecho por nuestro sistema de ciencia y tecnología. Si me permiten, voy a dar la palabra al profesor José Elguero Bertolini, presidente de la Spanish Royal Academy of Science.
Sir Philip, Secretary of State, President of the CSIC, awardees, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Academy of Science. The Spanish Royal Academy of Science has its origin in the period of Philip II, which founded an Academy of Mathematics in the year 1542. But now actual academy was founded by the Queen Elizabeth II, in the year 1847. Thank you. Gracias. There are 54 academicians and 90 foreign associated members or corresponding members to the academy. We are very proud that the Nature collection of journals decide to use our academy to present the award of this year, dedicated to four outstanding Spanish scientists. We hope that this situation will take again in the future, and new Spanish scientists will get this very important award. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Elguero Bertolini. Let me now to introduce to Mentoring and Mentoring Awards by Sir Philip Campbell, Editor-in-Chief on Nature.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. We created these prizes in 2005, and we give them every year in a different country or region. And I'm delighted now this year for us to be doing this in Spain. We have 4 winners. One of them is in the Antarctic at the moment, so he sends his apologies. But the other 3, I'm going to announce right now who they are, and then we will hand over the prizes later. And you probably recognize them already anyway, but I will say that we have 2 prizes for a lifetime achievement in mentoring. The first, Margarita Salas, who is in the Molecular Biology Center Severo Ochoa. And then Carlos Belmonte, who is in the Institute of Neuroscience at the University Miguel Hernandez. And then a mid-career award, we like to give a prize also to those people who have, in the middle of their career, have shown real enthusiasm and achievement for mentoring. And by the way, I will just tell you how the judges define mid-career differs from country to country. And in Japan, it was about 55, just so you know. However, here we have Luis Torner, who is at the Institute for Photonic Sciences in Barcelona, Institute of Science and Technology, and also Carlos Lopez Ortin, who is in the University of Oviedo, Professor of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. But as I say, he is in another place at the moment. I would like to say just a few words about the awards and why we do the awards. So for many years, I would interview people who wanted to apply for jobs at Nature. And part of the interview, I would ask them about the experience they had as a postdoctoral researcher or as a PhD graduate student. And even from the most prestigious places, the tales that they told of their experience, of how they had been left to just sink or to swim, was very often something that struck me. So in 2005, a funding agency approached Nature and said they wanted to do something with us. So I said, okay, give us some money and we'll set up this prize. And then the prize went well. We did it in Britain, and then in the following years, we took it over, so we pay for it. And we have done it in Germany, in South Africa, in Australia, in the Nordic countries, Japan, and so on, many countries, China. Last year it was California and Oregon and Washington State on the west coast of the States. So why do I think this is such an important activity? I mean, it's obvious, especially when you see people like our awardees, why it is important. But many universities around the world find it very difficult to support mentoring, to find the time to train people. And a lot of academics themselves find it hard to be motivated to mentor, partly maybe, or to learn how to mentor, partly because maybe they think they do it brilliantly already. And that isn't always true. So over the last year especially, I have been visiting laboratories in many places, talking to postdocs. And it is very interesting how much pressure everyone is under at the moment. It doesn't matter which country it is. Research is under pressure for all sorts of reasons. And there are issues like reproducibility in some disciplines which require a lot of extra work to try and put things to get them more robust. And then there are just cultural things where people sometimes are just so competitive that younger scientists lose out in terms of the nurturing they obtain. So that's the context of why I feel very strongly that mentoring is something that needs more support. And these prizes are just a gesture to illustrate how important they can be. But it's wonderful, especially when you can get very high-level support for such a venture. So it's an honor to have the Minister here today, the Secretary of State, and the President of the CSIC. It really means a lot to us at Nature, and I'm sure to the winners too. So that's what I wanted to say. I will do an apology. I don't speak Spanish. I don't understand Spanish. I'm sorry. There are one or two other colleagues in this room also who don't speak Spanish, and it's our fault, therefore, that we're all having to speak English, but I'm very grateful for that too. So now I'm going to hand over the floor. We have 3 speeches from honored guests, and first to speak is Josep Penuelas, who is the chair of the judges, and I've asked him to talk about the experience of being a judge for this competition. Josep.
So thank you very much, Philip. Let's see if it works. So dear authorities, dear Philip, let me say some words about how it went, our jury and our committee. Let's say that the first thing that I should say is that we were amazed of how many applications we had, of how good they were, and how diverse they were from different areas of different branches of science. So, and then we also were surprised and happy, again, extremely happy too, to see that the applicants, they realize what's mentoring, that is different from advising. The advisor is the director. Sometimes I am an advisor myself, and we care about the number of publications and so on. But mentoring is something else, is to provide guidance. And they show that in the applications, to provide support, sometimes even solace to the mentees. And with the only motive of defining and achieving the goals of the mentee. And this, we have seen that in the applications. The other thing that we realize there is that, as all the relationships, there must be benefits for both sides. So to make them enduring, what we have seen is that at least those that succeed, and many of the other applications, I am very sad we couldn't give the prize. They clearly show that there is a mutual benefit, because also the mentee provides working hours. Some of the young people here know that they provide working hours. But they also provide something even more important, that is fresh perspective that we all guys need. Yeah, so at the end, it's so rewarding, the relationship between the mentor and the mentee, that it becomes one of the joys of our work as scientists. Yeah, it's nothing more joyful and even proud, if you allow me to use this word, to see how the mentees start developing, start learning, start leading their own projects, even their own labs, even their own departments, or even some of them their own universities, because some of them, they are now majors, I don't know, that's only the name of the maximum authority of the university. Yeah? As I see all this, as I say, we saw all this in the applications, and we were very happy to see all this. And in many cases, as here there is an example, the mentor and the mentee down there, they become colleagues for the whole life. Yeah, nothing more rewarding, more exciting to see that. For example, Carlos and Juan. Yeah. So we saw that, and we were very happy because, we are very busy people, and we thought, well, this is too much work. But no, we learned a lot, and we took a lot of profit from this analysis. But then let me tell you something else about this, because this is to acknowledge what our experience. But then when we see that, we realize that this is very important in a country like ours, where unfortunately, we are far from optimal funding in science. Now that we have the authorities, and I am close to the Secretary of State, I know that it's very difficult to deal with the Ministry of Economy and all this. But I think that we should make a stronger effort as a country, because here in Spain, there are very good scientists, excellent scientists in different areas of science. Just by looking at the room, I see physicists, molecular biologists, ecologists, and they excel in the world. So, but we could do much better if the public science would be better funded. So this mentoring keeps the flame for this expectation. So I think it's very important. So and here I am starting to reach the part of the talk, of the short talk, that is the thanks, because we really appreciate, we are really thankful to Nature to have come to Spain and to have chosen Spain this year for this mentoring prize. I think this would be great, that our society realizes about the importance of this, as you mentioned before. Yeah? Also, of course, I need to mention, and now that we're talking about thanks, also the committee was also very enjoyable too. We had 5 members, we invited 5 members that are really wise, they were generous, they were easygoing, and they did an excellent analysis of the applications. So it was very straightforward. Yeah, even though, as I said, it was really difficult to come out with only 4 awarded persons. In fact, you asked us to have 2. And this was impossible, so we had at least 4. But if it were for us, we would have liked to have even more. Yeah. So let me thank Alison, that is here. I don't see her now. Oh yeah, where are you? Oh, Alison. Yeah, and Juan, that I see here. Pilar, Emilia, and Mariano, and Juan. Okay. And finally, I also want not to thank, but to congratulate the awarded people, the awarded scientists. The awarded mentors, because we think we are convinced that Luis, Carlos, Margarita, and Carlos in Antarctica are really maestros of mentoring. So congratulations and thanks for your work. Thank you.
Thank you. So now it is a pleasure to invite Professor Rosa Menendez, the president of the CSIC, to say some words.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. As most of you at the beginning of my career as a researcher, I had a few close people assessing me, counseling, advising, and some of these few people were real mentors. Because, as it has been mentioned, a mentor is something else than a supervisor. A mentor is he or she the person who guides and leads our scientific road to obtain the knowledge that we crave for. So, when you face a problem, this person will encourage you to correct the mistakes, to look for the right decision, and he will consider your real passion and needs, not only supervising your work. He will consider your personal situation that you are driving to, because mentoring, I in some way repeat the previous speech, is not only to provide the direction that the mentee should follow. It is, above all, the building up of a human relationship that stimulates creativity, independence, and integrity. The persons laureated here today with the Nature Awards for mentoring in science are key scientists who have played such a role in a unique way. As the newly appointed president of CSIC, in which some of you work or maintain a very warm relation, I feel especially touched by your liveliness, dynamism, and thus I would like to conclude these brief words by expressing both my personal and institutional thanks to your commitment and perseverance in helping young researchers to reach their goals. Thank you very much.
Now it is an honor to ask the Secretary of it is an honor to ask the Secretary of State for Investigation, Development and Innovation, Carmen Vela, to say some words.
Thank you very much. President of the CSIC, if you allow me, querida Presidenta del CSIC, President of the Spanish Royal Academy of Science, Nature, Editor-in-Chief, President of the Youth, particularly and especially they are awarded scientists, researchers, members of the youth, ladies and gentlemen, they are friends. I think that now, as has been mentioned, Professor Peñuelas, it's time to thank. First of all, I want to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon or this evening to recognize some very relevant people for our scientists, for our science. Let me also to thank Nature. Without their interest, we will not be here. Nature, you already know, is more than the international science journal. It's like a dream. I think all scientists sooner or later have a dream to have one Nature, 2, 3, 4. Well, this is more than a dream. But let me say something apart from the sun. If I may, I would like to make a personal communication that I met Sir Philip Campbell a couple of weeks ago at Berlin. And he told me that the only thing that he can make alone is to decide which is the country where they are going to reside this Nature Award. So I really want to thank him for this personal and risky decision to choose Spain. Thank you so much to choose our people. Thank you also to the Royal Academy of Science. In fact, in 2 weeks, I have been staying here twice, and I want to repeat as much as they want. And let me say something I will repeat again. As Professor Peñuela says, Spain is a country full of talented researchers. And today we have a fantastic example. I think that to mention here Margarita Salas, my last time here was also with her. There are some reasons. Professor Carlos Belmonte, I am very happy because last time that I give a prize to Professor Carlos Belmonte, he was not there. So I insist and I repeat, and today finally he's here. With Carlos López Otín, I am not so lucky. He's really far away, but we will send our regard from the distance. And I want to say something about Lluís Torner. I cannot say something additionally to Lluís. It's really a pleasure to have all of them here and to be able to recognize, because apart from the generosity that the nature is showing up with them, I think that we are making justice with their activity. And I want also to answer just a little bit to Professor Piñuelas, because he really made to me the introduction. And I want to say that here in Spain, we are really making very good science. We have very good talented researchers. we have been making major progress in the last 30 years. Our first Spanish science law is just only 31 years old. We have numerous centers, how to say about IFO. If it's not the first on the world, it's the second, but again will be the first, and so on. We have researchers of global impact. We have 4 fantastic examples today. We have infrastructure. We belong and participate in all the major infrastructure on the world, in the CEN, to ASO, to ITER, to many of them. And in fact, there are some data that provide some information that probably you already heard me to talk about that. We are only 1.7% of the total researchers of the world. I mean, you are 1% of the total researchers of the world, but you are responsible for the 3.2% of the total publication. If we are looking for from the excellent publication, you are responsible for the 4.5%. If we go ahead with the publication that have in the most important journal, you are responsible of the 6.7%. So I think that we need to keep in mind this value, just only to try to grow up, to go further. I fully agree with Professor Peñuelas that we need to increase our funding for research. Absolutely. Not only for public, also for private. We have some debt with our science. We need to work to increase not only the funding, also the flexibility of our system. I just only can say one thing. Please trust us. We are working every day and every night to get it. You can say that we didn't achieve it. This is true, but we will continue. Because we really trust in our scientists, in our technologies, in the people that are working every day in the lab with a lot of problems. I think that it's not fair to say that we are also having problems. But if we have problems, it's because we want to solve it for all of you. Because I think that you deserve this work from the people that are working in the State Secretary, and trust us again, we are doing. And we are doing, and in such a how we are already getting some positive result. But again, you are getting. Everything that we did is not for us, it's because you. If you have a look to the result of Horizon 2020, I have the opportunity today to have Commissioner Carlos Moedas in the State Secretary. He joined the Consejo Rector of the Agency for Research. He joined us for the presentation of the PRIMA program, and later he have a discussion with all the directors of our public research organization. And I say that because for us, Europe is very relevant. You should keep in mind that we contribute to Europe with 8% of the total funding. And from 75,000 million euros, that is Horizon 2020, Spain contributes quite a lot to this funding. And in the past, we usually contribute, but we didn't get any or just partial recovery for this funding. But now, in Horizon 2020, not only we are funding, we are increasing our total revenues. If we pay 8%, I mean you, scientists from public research organizations, for companies are doing very well in Horizon 2020, are getting more than this 8%, close to 10%. If you are looking for what is the project with the coordination, it's a Spanish scientist of technologies, we are reaching 15%. 15. I must say that our target for 2020 was 10%. And now you are already reached 15%. That means that now, since the program beginning 2014, the Spanish scientific community has been getting from Europe more than 2,300 million euros. Never before you has been getting this kind of results. That has been allocated Spain in the first position regarding project, just only after UK, Germany, and later Spain, and in the 4th position regarding budget, because France have more expensive salaries, probably just only because of that. And this is a very high recognition of our system. The success of Horizon 2020 is 14%. And the competition is a fair competition. Nobody helps you when you play and you make a project or you go for an ARC. That means that we have a very good science. We have very good scientists, we have very good technologies. And that's the reason that we are working, trust me, extremely hard to give to you the support that you really deserve. Let me just finalize, and I want to say that it's necessary to make a lot of challenges, a lot of changes, because the challenges are quite important. And I told you already, the funding, the administration flexibility, the mobility, international mobility, but also mobility between sectors. And I think that we need to combine perfectly research and innovation. If our companies, they are not working, as it is the case, on research, and they should do it, we will have a problem. Never the public sector will be able to compensate. That's the reason that one of our strategies is to combine the public and the private funding, the public and the private collaboration. This is the only way that we can reach the level that we want. Let me just to finalize, saying some additional words to the awardees. I think that I must say thank you, but I was looking for what will be the superlative of thank you, because thank you is extremely short, to say all the gratitude that we deserve for the, let me say, the more senior awardee, that they really make an extraordinary work, and they continually doing. I know Margarita is still fighting for the project of the national plan, and I want to help her as much as we can. And how to say about Carlos, and also to Luis and to Carlos López Otín. There are 4 really extraordinary scientists that put the name of Spain on the top of science. So I really want to have a different word to thank you, to show up our gratitude, because they are an example, and I know that additionally to very good researchers, and I have the possibility to say that because I know some of them personally, they are extraordinary people, extraordinary person that really work just only to help the others to reach the very high value. So I think that the Nature make a major success recognizing these people and provide them with the recognition, the gratitude, and all. I have not enough words to say how we can really appreciate the value that we are going to this award. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much to recognize the value. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are going to celebrate each of these winners one by one. And the nominations for these prizes came from 5 people for each winner, people who had been mentored by the winner at various stages of the mentor's career. And so I have extracted some things from the nominations, and my job is to try and embarrass the winners by the very nice things that people say. I thought I would start with Carlos López Otín, because he is not here, but they said very nice things about him, and he has sent me a speech at my request to acknowledge the prize. So I will do that first. And so here is something that one of his nominators said. The first day I entered the lab as a summer undergraduate, Carlos sat with me and gave me a detailed account of the projects in the lab. And then he introduced me to one of his graduate students and went on to say, this is Luis Maria, and this is an HPLC. You are going to purify new proteins. That day I learned from Carlos that I could accomplish anything, that fear has no place in the lab, that science is about being bold and brave, but most importantly, that I mattered. From Carlos, I also learned what excellence means, how every experiment comes from a question, how every assay has an order, a method, and a principle, and how every result counts. Every day he would engage us in open discussions around any new result, or from an intriguing concept, or critically how to explore. Time passed and the lab grew and his science grew, yet Carlos always kept his door open for us, and not only for us, but also for a myriad of people that would come to him for help, collaboration, and career advice. Despite the challenge of time-consuming teaching responsibilities, he always prepares each lesson thoroughly and delivers it with utmost care. Moreover, his teaching was never confined to the classroom or the lab. Carlos would also engage and explain to anyone who would be curious to know, any colleague, any student, any neighbor, the science of the day. To this day, he regularly makes himself available for lectures in schools and social centres and encourages others to do so. And in this way, it is that I learned that science belongs to society and that it should be celebrated and shared. Carlos showed me that people want to know and deserve to know about our work. And then there is one other thing that I have extracted from the nominations, which I thought was very interesting. One of Ramon y Cajal's books lists a number of Spanish scientists he met along his scientific career and ends with the omen, quote, "The list of the good lost in the desert would have no end." Many young researchers find themselves in trouble at some point in their careers. Carlos's trainees are not immune to fate. Postdoctoral training is somehow a gamble, and life is too. Over the years, some of Carlos's pupils found themselves pushed away from their career paths by unluckiness and the tides of life. All of them found Carlos by their side, embracing them back in his lab, building opportunities, fostering their confidence, and giving them a nurturing environment with support and freedom to grow into successful, independent investigators. This effort came at significant cost for Carlos. He invested in them priceless time and resources, yet anyone who knows Carlos knows that for him, being there is the way to be, as a person, as a mentor, as a scientist, and as a citizen. Along the years, he's written hundreds of recommendation letters, made uncountable phone calls, and spent hours and hours helping out those who sought his help and advice. Thanks to Carlos López Otín, the list of the good ones lost in the desert is much shorter than what it would otherwise be. So, I now want to just read his speech. Dear friends and colleagues, I apologize for not being today in this Royal Academy of Sciences, which is also my home. With a few words written in a solitary and cold place, Antarctica, where it is easy to appreciate the magnificence and profligacy of nature, I want to express my most sincere gratitude to the generosity of Another Nature, the journal, for this Mentoring in Science award, which represents a unique moment in my academic and scientific life. Thanks to my former students, disciples, and collaborators who presented my candidacy for this award, and thanks also to the members of the jury who considered that there was some merit in this proposal. Thanks also to my own mentors for educating me in the principles of science and nourishing and focusing my innate curiosity towards understanding the clues of life and disease. It is wonderful that one of them, Margarita Salas, is also awarded today. She, together with the late Eladio Vinuela and many others, taught me how to address the difficult moments in my career and helped me to keep alive my scientific vocation. It is also a pleasure to share this award with Carlos Belmonte and Luis Tona, as both of them represent outstanding examples of colleagues who have been influential to me at different times and under different circumstances. Finally, thanks to all past, current, and future members of my research group at the University of Oviedo. More than 30 years have elapsed since I opened my laboratory in this small university of the Spanish periphery. With hindsight, I can say that the most important lessons I have learnt in both science and life come from all of my students and mentees. It is really moving when from time to time you perceive a strange feeling and realize that you do not really know if you are teaching or learning. In those precise moments, I feel I have attained the true molecular harmony which we all need to be able to enjoy each minute of our own lives. This Nature Award is the best confirmation that teaching and mentoring are not chores, but are real privileges in my life. Thank you. So shall we congratulate him? So now what I suggest we do, we haven't rehearsed this, but I would suggest that Luis Tona, as the next person, sits in that chair while I try and embarrass him. And then he can give his speech, and then I think we will give you the prize afterwards. The Secretary of State can then come to the front with all of you after you've each given your speeches, and we will do that at the end. Otherwise, it's a bit cumbersome. Okay, so now I'm going to embarrass you. So when talking about the scientific, this is one of your nominators, when talking about the scientific achievements of Professor Tona, one could exclusively refer to his very successful scientific career, which has spanned through 3 very different subfields of photonics, namely optical solitons, complex optical beams, and novel surface waves. In each topic he has tackled, he has become one of the world leaders. While Turner is an internationally acknowledged scientist, one cannot talk about his major contribution to science without emphasizing the fact that created from scratch one of the best research institutions worldwide in the field of photonics, ICPHO, the Institute of Photonic Sciences. Being one of the first ICPHonians, I am quite aware of the huge amount of efforts behind ICPHO's success story. So there is something that repeats in this collection of people who become a family and give themselves a label, and ICPHonians is one of them. The first value that he conveyed to me and many other ICPHonians is that there is no limit in what can be achieved. I should mention that when I joined ICPHO as a young postdoctoral researcher, I did not have the ambition of becoming a scientific leader, but he challenged me scientifically and personally in a way I drastically overpassed what I believed to be my limits. Thanks to the trust and opportunities he gave me, I started working on very innovative multidisciplinary projects. The second main inspiration conveyed by him is specifically related to leadership and mentoring. It is noteworthy, underlying, that these are not values that he explicitly formulated or claimed to be his. They are just extracted from his own behavior over the last 15 years I have known him. First of all, he has always put forward young talents without looking for his own protagonism or personal acknowledgement. Many of the examples where he gave opportunities and visibility to the youngest, redirecting invitations to give talks, etc., without they could even suspect that he was acting in the background. A second amazing characteristic of Turner is, despite his frenetic agenda, his permanent availability to listen to everyone, independently of his or her age or position. He would literally treat everyone with the same level of attention, and this has made him gain unanimous respect and love from everyone. Last but not least, Turner is a convinced defender of ethics, scientific and beyond, of gender balance, and opportunities for minorities. Here again, he does not talk much about it, but just acts towards a better world. And then I have 2 more little extracts. So one, we asked the nominators to identify any lessons that could be passed on to others as a result of the nominees' success at mentoring. So one of them said, there are many, including, if you are a team leader, focus on people's skills and nurture them. Use your status to inspire and empower younger colleagues and team members. Next, work hard, compete fiercely if needed, always play by the rules. Pursue your dreams. Many more people than you think may help you get there. Try to be surrounded by people smarter than you. Team up and pursue win-win deals. And finally, never eat alone. And then the final thing. Professor Luis Turner is the very definition of the perfect mentor. Among other remarkable qualities, he has the uncommon ability to understand people's feelings, skills, and weaknesses. He identifies the strengths of every person and helps use them in their own benefit. He nurtures and empowers everyone around him. He genuinely likes to see everyone around him shine. I have seen people that no one else would have mentored giving the most and making important contributions to the group under his wing. I've also seen extremely talented people shine and grow at the speed of light under his wing. He's the ability of making people feel as special as they deserve, and that is the most powerful mentorship tool I've ever seen. So that is what I wanted to say about Luis. Afterwards, we will come to the front and give you your prize. But Luis, I think we should applaud you first, and then you should say what you want to say. So well done.
Thank you, Philippe. This is really moving. Subsecretario de Estado, Sir Campbell, Dr. Peñuelas, Presidente, Presidenta, dear colleagues, dear friends. It's a great honor to receive this award and thereby being associated to a group of people and entities I have long deeply admired. First, Nietzsche, the worldwide icon for top quality, top-notch publications. As Carmen said, all scientists from any part of the world dream to publish in Nature once at least, possibly two, but at least once. To me, Thursday is one of the best days of the week, because on Thursday, I get an email from Nature with a table of contents of most of the Nature journals. And so I know that in that table of contents, I will see a great deal of the most exciting and far-reaching discoveries of the week. And so getting an award from Nature is really, really amazing. Second, I'm excited and humbled by joining the list of previous awardees from other countries. Many of them are really legends. And now this year from my own country, from Spain. Everybody who is anybody in this business knows that Margarita and Carlos and the other Carlos are not only fantastic scientists, but also wonderful people. So it's a distinct honor to share the award with these people. Third, it makes me especially happy that this award is given for mentoring. As Sir Campbell said, mentoring is not always properly recognized, but actually is really rewarding by itself. During my scientific career so far, and to be clear, I'm happy to be midway only. Right? So it's not lifelong yet. I have enjoyed many happy moments, but honestly, the best ones have been those associated to the successes of my fellow ICFonians, especially the young ones. So I want to thank them, the group of colleagues who nominated me, Romain, Silvia, Armand, Giovanni, and Frank. And of course, I want to thank the members of the jury, Giuseppe, Juan, and company, for selecting me. When you said that it was very difficult, you made me really, really happy. And last but not least, I want to thank my own mentors. Everything I achieved so far goes back to them and then to hard work, really. There are too many mentors to be named here today, but I want to single out two of them. I want to single out Dr. Andreu Masculei, who gave me the chance to create ICFO from scratch. And especially I want to thank Dr. Per-Emir Puig, the outstanding philanthropist who has supported us heavily over many years, not only financially, but also through his encouragement and interest for science. Dr. Mir passed away a few months ago at the age of 97, but we met and discussed with him science for many years, almost weekly, every Friday. So I got an email from Nature on Thursday, and I met with Dr. Mir on Friday. And we discussed science all over. And we did that almost until his last day. So that was quite remarkable. So philanthropy is not that common in our country. Hopefully it will become. And so hopefully we will have more Dr. Mirs. So may this award be a way to express our gratitude and to pay homage to him. So, thank you.
Thank you. So, some extracts from Carlos's nomination. He has had an outstanding and inspiring career as a neurophysiology. In 1984, he created the renowned Institute of Neuroscience de Alicante, an institution that he led for over 2 decades and is today one of the most important neuroscience research centers in Europe. Professor Belmonte was Secretary General and President of the International Brain Research Organization, where he had an important role not only in the reorganization of that organization, but also in promoting neuroscience research worldwide, with special attention to supporting training in excellent centers of promising young scientists from developing countries. I know that that is something that you care about. Professor Belmonte is not only an outstanding scientist, but he is also an amazing person with exceptional human qualities, constituting himself as a mentor and the inspiration of a large group of neuroscientists working worldwide today. During his long and prolific career, he has also received multiple prizes and acknowledgements, including having a street named in his honor in Alicante. More extracts. Professor Belmonte's entire scientific and personal life has been an example for the people that have been fortunate enough to be in his group. Professor Belmonte stands out for his genuine enthusiasm and incredible vitality that has always enabled him to be at the forefront of his research field. His incombustible and endless energy is present until today and is reflected in multiple seminal papers in his field, some of them published during the last few years. He has always been a brilliant, creative pioneer, fearless and a visionary researcher, and he's been able to transmit with these values to his pupils through his example. With a strong point of view about the relevance of forming new and better human resources, one clear illustration to visualize his labor is the foundation and consolidation of the Institute of Neurosciences in Alicante. Overcoming multiple discouraging obstacles and convinced of the relevance of having a place of excellence for neuroscientists in Spain, he fought to create one of the most important centers for neuroscience research in Europe, being an example of tenacity and smart management of human, political, and economic resources in pursuit of a greater good for the local scientific community. Creativity and success in science are always hand in hand with hard work, and Professor Belmonte has always been a passionate example of that. Additionally, he has always encouraged his pupils to reach their independence, giving them the tools to explore their potential to take the next step in their scientific careers. And then the final extract. I would like to briefly highlight an uncommon and key mentoring feature of our nominee. As I already mentioned, Professor Belmonte is an easy person to work with, and he has been the inspiration to many outstanding students and postdocs in his academic life. But what I think is his most valuable feature is that he is an excellent human resource manager. He always has the tact and ability to guide all sorts of students, visualizing the areas in which they could stand out, helping them meet their maximal potential as researchers. Several names came to my mind, and probably some of them would not have had a good opportunity in science without Professor Belmonte as a mentor. The list of aspects that makes Professor Belmonte a successful mentor is very long. He is a tireless, hard worker, enthusiastic, pioneer, visionary, generous, easygoing and approachable person, always available to provide help and to listen, and a natural leader of human resources. In my humble opinion, few people can combine human and scientific quality as successfully as Carlos Belmonte. Well, congratulations.
Well, I wish I could speak with such a wonderful British accent in my presentation, but queridos amigos, my only Spanish word, all together here, and I wrote what I wanted to say because I was afraid that I may forget some of the few things I would like to say in front of such a distinguished audience. First, I wish to thank my pupils for the award. To the members of the jury, that I'm sure they have a very difficult task. To Nature, because this wonderful initiative is in the best tradition of its role as the most influencing voice in defining the main human scientific advances of the last 150 years. Great opinion of your journal. Of course, also to all the family members, friends that are accompanying us here, and to my colleagues that make a real honor for me to be part of this group. In my view, those who really deserve this award are the young people who, for a variety of reasons, ended up at my side during their training years, the critical moment to reaffirm your research vocation. Most of these pupils are today excellent researchers, and they may still think that I have been helpful for that success. However, I intimately know that they would have achieved exactly the same things without my help. So I am thanking him for teaching me so many new and important things. Perhaps my only contribution was to offer them the most favorable conditions to develop the research within our range of possibilities, and to give them some personal encouragement when they begin to fail in this aspect. I hope I did transmit them a bit of my personal enthusiasm and passion for research, and the deep belief that ours is one of the best human intellectual endeavors, full of excitement, intimate satisfaction, and individual independence. An award for a full career achievement forced inevitably to make a retrospective reflection on the level of fulfillment of our original life expectations. I was one of the few Spanish scientists that in the 60s of the past century had the rare opportunity of completing in a foreign country the forcefully limited training that I had received here. A training provided by a scarce number of heroic persons that still maintain alive the remnant of Spanish science dramatically put apart by the Civil War. Very conscious of our privilege and responsibility, most of us feel morally obliged to return to Spain, firmly decide to build here for the next generation the research conditions that we had known and enjoyed abroad. And in doing so, accepting the sacrifice for our personal research possibilities. This was in fact the spirit that I had learned from my mentor in Spain, Antonio Gallego. If we draw the map of the present geographical distribution of research excellence in Spain, we discovered that this is directly related to the return to this country of these then young scientists that surrounded themselves of enthusiastic and motivated pupils and started the creation of the international recognized scientific structure that Spain possesses today, and our Secretary of State so brilliantly presented. The Spanish writer and philosopher Unamuno said a century ago, after receiving a medal from Alfonso, King of Spain, "Sir, I feel proud of this honor that I really deserve." The king smiled and he continued, "Am I wrong, sir?" "Of course, Don Miguel," answered the king, "but most previous honorees cite that they did not deserve the prize or the award. And they were also right," answered Unamuno. Now, like Unamuno, being so immodest, but speaking rather on behalf of the members of the generation I was mentioning before, I proudly say that yes, our generation of researchers possibly deserve also this award, because we have left to the younger scientists of today's Spain a better country for scientific research than the one we received half a century ago. So thank you, and I hope you continue with this wonderful tradition.
Thank you. Please. And finally, Margarita Salas. So again, I read from nominations. To summarize Professor Margarita Salas' achievements, her scientific impact transcends way beyond her publication record. She is one of the handful of researchers that literally created the field of molecular biology in Spain. She is known and respected both by lay people and by the scientific community at large. To appreciate her accomplishments, we have to go back to the time in 1961 when she started her PhD with Dr. Alberto Sols in Madrid. This was under a dictatorship with little regard for science and even less for female researchers. Yet Margarita succeeded in publishing key papers in the field of carbohydrate metabolism. She then left Spain to join the group of the Nobel laureate Severo Ochoa at NYU. This was also remarkable, particularly because she had to secure funding from very scarce sources to pursue her studies. The main discoveries of Margarita with Dr. Ochoa are textbook knowledge that every biology student now takes for granted. Her next bold move was to return to Spain. With her husband, Eladio Vinuela, and with international funding, which was unusual at the time, they then joined an incipient Spanish National Research Council, the CSIC. Their rigor and passion for science was then a core of values transmitted to innumerable generations of researchers, most of which proceeded to high responsibility positions. Her laboratory has discovered mechanisms of DNA replication and transcription with broad, basic, and translational applications. In Spain, scientists that have been part of Margarita Salas's group are colloquially referred to as Margaritos. This is a qualifier that those involved hold in high esteem. Indeed, this is a branding that we are extremely proud of. Being a Margarito almost defines one's pedigree. To be accepted in her laboratory, a student or postdoc had to have an exceptional CV or track record. And similarly, no thesis defense or publication would be sent out for review unless considered outstanding. The likelihood of someone trained with Margarita to be in an influential position is very high, whether in industry or academia. Even an ex-science minister has also emerged from her group. He then goes on to describe a particular interview, and she says, "She looked very intensively into my eyes and let me talk." A number of people mention Margarita looking intensively into their eyes. It is clearly a part of Margarita. She was judging my background, my commitment and determination, and my ability to communicate. I was really excited when at the end of the meeting she offered me the possibility to join her group. She had the laboratory structured so the PhD students were assigned to senior postdoctoral fellows or to staff investigators, all with impressive publication records. This organization ensured that no student was left behind and that none will be left behind. I have to say that over the years, I've seen many competitive laboratories in multiple countries where this is definitely not the case. There are many qualities that define Margarita as a mentor, but the most important, in my opinion, is that she would make all and any effort so you could succeed. The very minute you entered in the laboratory, you would immediately become immersed in a culture of strict technical standards. Reproducibility had to be an integral part of your daily life. We were trained to quantify, re-quantify, repeat, and quantify again. And then later, Margarita ensured that I was being properly guided by her and a senior investigator. I finished my PhD with a total of 9 publications, 5 as first author. Importantly, I was definitively not the only case with this record of papers at an early stage of the career. Mentoring, training, and diverse external funding were main reasons that Margarita's laboratory was so successful. In this context, I would like to emphasize that the internationalization of the group was also our training. Seminars and lab interactions were in English, and this, which now is customary, was unique at that time. And then the final quote, "Nowadays one can find outstanding laboratory heads, with many trainees achieving high honors and positions. However, few have a trajectory of over 50 years of mentoring generations of scientists, which ultimately constitute a school that has cemented the field of molecular biology as a whole in a country. Margarita is a role model for many male and female researchers. I wish I could be a fraction of the highly influential mentor that she has been and still is. This award would be a well and long-deserved recognition to all abilities as a scientist and a leader."
Thank you, Sir Philip. Secretary of State, Sir Philip Campbell, President of the Royal Academy of Sciences, President of the CSC, Chair of the jury, members of the jury, colleagues, friends. It is for me an honor and a pleasure to receive this Nature Mentoring Award 2017 for a lifetime achievement. And I would like to thank Nature for establishing this award and to the members of the jury that selected me, together with my colleague and friend, Carlos Belmonte, for this important recognition. Also, it's a pleasure to share this award with Luis Torder and Carlos López-Otín, a former student of myself and Eladio. It is now 50 years since Eladio Viñuela, my husband, and myself came back to Madrid after a postdoctoral stay in Severo Ochoa's lab to develop and teach the molecular biology in Spain. We chose as a model system a small bacterial virus, bacteriophage V29, for its study at the molecular level, in particular the replication and transcription of the viral DNA. 55 PhD students did the PhD thesis in the lab, and many postdocs were trained in the V29 group. Many of these students are now group leaders doing a high-quality research. I can say that I was lucky because I could select the very best students, and I owe them being recognized with this Nature Maintenance Award. Many thanks to all of them, because with their excellence, it was easy to be a mentor, something that I have learned from my PhD and postdoctoral mentors, Alberto Sols and Severo Ochoa, respectively. I am sure that in the future, many of my students could deserve a Nature Mentoring Award. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will say one more thing and then hand over to the President of the Academy to finish. So the work it takes to nominate these mentors is quite a lot. As Josep will agree, there's a lot of work in writing what you think about your mentor. In Australia, there were 98 entries, so just be thankful you didn't do the job in Australia. But also, the judges in Australia, including me, thought it would be good to sit down and write an article that documented the characteristics that you've heard tonight and that we saw in Australia. And that is freely available on our website. It's called the Nature Guide to Mentors. And if you want to download it and perhaps circulate to people just to encourage them, by all means do. That's the last thing I wanted to say. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you again to the Secretary of State and to the President of the CSIC. Very much thanks to the jury. And finally, the President of the Academy. Over to you.
Well, this This is almost the end of a very nice day, a day when the most famous journal in the world awarded for a Spanish scientist. I hope it is not the end of our collaboration with nature, and I invite Professor Campbell to come again to Madrid and to have a similar ceremony in some years. Now we end this journey, and thank you very much for coming, not only the authorities that are here, but all of you to come to the Academy of Science. You are welcome. Goodbye and good luck. Se levanta la sesión.